Greetings, greetings. Greetings, 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 one and all. Hi. Hi, Dionne. Hi, Stajah.
Hey, how you
Hi,
doing?
how are you ladies doing?
Great.
And we also have a audience participant. Madam Iris Ferguson is present. Dionne, why do y'all have the same last name? Is this your kinfolk?
I know that lady. That is my mother.
That's wonderful. Oh my God.
Look at her beating me on here.
That is excellent. That is excellent. We're actually early.
Okay.
So it's not supposed to start for 4 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll give Dail a second to get on here.
Well, I didn't want to be late.
Oh, girl, your hair looks fly.
Thank you.
Stajah, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there.
Hanging in there? You know, I went and snatched your bio off of the Pumoja site. Are you still teaching there?
Yes.
Okay, yes. And I said, oh, Lord, she's teaching the babies. I know she's tired.
Oh, my God. Yep, I got sixth grade.
What grade do you have, Stajah? What
Second grade.
Second grade. All right. You know Mama and Jokey?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I adore her.
Me too. Me too. She has a whole club.
Yes. So where's your little boy?
In his room, probably knee deep in a conversation on what is that? Discord. He's a gamer.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my daughter rushes home to watch streams and watch people play video games as well.
Yeah.
A lot of personalities that they love. It's like little kids soap operas.
Yeah. On Minecraft. That was his thing for a minute. I'm like, you can make these.
Right.
Go ahead and start this YouTube. Let's go.
You know, I've been obsessing about NFTs. Like, I just feel like, why not me?
Right. Right. You just gotta sit down and figure it out. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Look, that's the next move. That's what we'll that's the next thing we'll do. Then we can all retire early.
Exactly.
Hey, Miss Ferguson, Dionne's mama. Can she hear me?
I don't know. Can you hear us? I think not.
I don't think so. All right, there's Dail. Yay. Admit.
Look at her baby. Good picture. Good picture.
Yep. Speaking of babies, is yours home from for the semester?
No, not until the end of the month.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they don't go back to when?
End of January.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Dail.
Hey, how's it going? Give me a second. I'm turning my studio into something that is reasonable for this recorded Zoom.
Okay.
It's a hot mess, but it's a beautiful mess.
Right. Well, my 14-year-old is at the library and the
Okay,
21-year-old drove her to the library.
that's good
They had
stuff
some,
right there.
right, yeah. Yeah, I've hit the sweet spot.
Mhm.
I can now offload it to the boy. All right, guys, I am so glad that you are here. We have some more people joining us. So I'm hitting admit over here. So people are fascinated, and they should be fascinated because you guys are fascinating. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you all about art and mothering, womanhood and working and trying to keep the creative juices flowing, all of that good stuff. Dail, how's your week gone so far?
It's been pretty productive. I'm working on a piece for a stage play called No Deferred Dreams.
Ooh,
And I just need to sew the back on this thing and it's done.
oh, that's wonderful.
I can show it to
Who's doing the play? Ooh, that's
you.
gorgeous.
Lydia Nichols.
Do you know where they're gonna mount the play?
It's going to be a digital stage play, and they're out of New Orleans, actually.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
That is so awesome. I love that title, No Deferred Dreams, because I often nod to Langston Hughes too and say my dream has been deferred when I don't get my
Oh.
way on something. So yeah. All right, we're admitting Winifred Devens.
There we go.
You guys, please make use of the chat. This is set up like a meeting, not a webinar. So we're going to give people that moment they can undo their cameras at the end and unmute themselves and talk to us at the end. I knew it was going to be a small but mighty group, so there was no need to kind of lock people out and make sure that they couldn't talk. If somebody bombs us, like people say famously happens, hopefully their nudes are compelling. That's all I can hope. I'm always open to compelling nudes. That's why it will never happen to me. I will not be the lucky person to get Zoom bombed by anything interesting. But on that note, it is 7:03. Everybody is here that's going to be here. The fantastic and brilliant Eugenia Alexander has had something come up, and she just won't be here with us. So the foci, the locus of tonight's conversation will be myself, Dr. Treasure Shields Redmond, entrepreneur and writer, Dionne Ferguson, visual artist, Stajah Curry, and activist, co-collaborator, visual artist, nonprofit arts organizer, and founder, Dail Chambers. So I'm going to take a moment and read the bios of tonight's participants. And we're going to start with Dail Chambers. So on Dail's website, she has a very short bio, so I'm going to add a little bit. But she says Dail Chambers is a visual artist and creative consultant. Her visual practice is a multimedia exploration in genealogy, women's narratives, and social art. She has received numerous awards and fellowships throughout the United States. As a homeschooling teaching artist, she has traveled internationally, implementing lesson plans to enhance and motivate intergenerational learning environments. And I want to add that I consider Dail my primary collaborator and co-conspirator in all things that will uplift art, Blackness, and giving mothering artists ease and money. So we're always trying to figure out a way to make that happen. Dail, of course, is the founder of the Yeyo Arts Collective, a nonprofit arts collaborative that has existed for more than a decade now. So I would like for everyone to welcome Dail Chambers. Miss Stajah Curry is a painter, a sculptor, an illustrator, a designer, an animator, and a teacher. She has managed to familiarize herself with many mediums and forms of art. From 2D to 3D, she pushes her work to new territory, dabbles in new concepts, and experiments with new ideas. Stajah dabbles in all kinds of freelance work, logos and flyers to portraits and murals. She works both in digital and traditional mediums. Though her skills in graphic design are solid and her traditional work is gallery ready, she tends to shy away from most commissions. She's taught art across 17 different public schools and has worked in a few nonprofit programs. She has worked hard in the community to expose the next generation to all the art world has to offer. From ages 5 to 19, Stajah has taught in the professional setting for 10 years. She plans to open a small school of art sometime in the distant future. Please welcome Stajah Curry. And of course, we have Miss Dionne Ferguson. Dionne Ferguson is a writer, and when she wrote about herself, when she was chosen as a Fannie Lou Hamer resident, she said the residency was going to give her time with herself to write and visualize the elements of mixed media pieces that reflect her writing. It was going to give her time, her reprieve from the daily grind that inhibited her artistry and the natural flow of her artistic being, and provide the motivation and time to plan what continued art making will be outside of the residency. Now, outside of the residency, Dionne has worked with several organizations providing service to diverse communities throughout the world, and she is now the executive director for Good Journey. Good Journey is an international organization supporting youth leadership and community building throughout the world. So Good Journey has provided opportunities for young people from the St. Louis metropolitan to travel to the continent of Africa, and among other programs that Dionne as a founder has created. So that is the great Dionne Ferguson. As for me, let me see. I'll say a bit about myself. Your intrepid host, Dr. Treasure Shields Redmond. Okay. I'm not paying attention to the chat, so y'all let me know if someone is chatting. Ooh. Okay, so here's what I will say about myself. I'm a Mississippi native, a published poet, master educator, community arts organizer, and entrepreneur. I was raised in the federal housing projects in Meridian, Mississippi, but I'm a dual citizen of Meridian, Mississippi, and East St. Louis, Illinois. I went on to be signed to MC Hammer's label as a hip hop artist and a writer. And I'm the author of Chop, a collection of quansabas for Fannie Lou Hamer. I co-founded Fannie Lou Hamer House with Dail Chambers, and it's a retreat space for Black artists. And I'm the founder of Feminine Pronoun Consultants. And I was recently named a postdoctoral fellow of literary executorship for the estate of Eugene B. Redmond and the late Henry Dumas. All right, good people. Let me see if there's anyone else I need to let in before we get started. Okay, good. We are a strong 8 members. Dail has kicked it off in the chat by saying hello to everyone, and I will too. I'm going to say mambo to everyone here. So this conversation has been advertised as a way for female artists, for women identified artists, Black women, to talk about process, to talk about the triumphs and the challenges of being creative in this time and in this place, however you like to think about that. So one of the first things I want to do is just give people a second to tell us when they knew they were a maker, a creative. And I'm going to start with Stajah. Stajah, when did you know you were a creative, a maker?
Oh, well, thank you. First, permission from my elders to speak. I like that you started with Swahili. Thought I'd add. But when I first recognized that I was a creator, I can't quite remember because my mother can tell you I'm notorious when I was younger for cutting up paper and just making all kinds of mess with it at an early age. So I've been creating and I guess also destroying for as long as I've been on this planet. Yes, but I think it was somewhere in my tweens, like 11 to 12 years old, that I realized I didn't want to do anything else but create.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like that you brought up that your mother noticed it. So you were in a family where you were kind of given permission to be creative as well.
As long as there was no mess, yes. And I don't know how you're supposed to do that.
Yes.
I feel like I was set up for failure. My mother had no problem with me creating. They encouraged the creation. They discouraged the mess. And so I had a little box to make a mess in, and I could go crazy over there.
Oh, man. Did anybody talk to you about professionalization early on? Did they start using words like professional artist or, designer or words like that? Or was it just letting you create?
It was letting me create for the longest. And it wasn't until I came across a teacher who was getting sick and tired of me drawing in her classes did she snatch my notebook. She kept it. And, going through her personal belongings in the afternoon, it fell open and she realized it was an entire comic book. And she had never seen anything like that on a kid before. She was the first person to get me to realize I could use my art as a professional, She's like, you could be a comic book artist, don't you realize? And she brought out the Boondocks, and I ain't never seen the Boondocks before.
Oh, wow.
And that was and she told me there was a Black comic book artist, and that blew my little mind because I didn't know Black people could comic book. That's a thing to do. Oh my goodness. At that age, all I had seen was, little white boys. I loved Calvin and Hobbes growing up. So I had been exposed to comics. Of course, I wouldn't be drawing them if I hadn't been. And all my characters were Black. The main character was a young lady with cornrows going back. And that's what drew her into it. And her best friend was a dude with a huge afro. So I gave him the natural hair. And this is at about, I guess I was middle school, 12, 13 years old. Is when she came across it. And I don't have it with me. It's sitting. I took it to work with me to show my kids.
Wow, you still have it.
I still have it. She kept it. I still have it.
That's wonderful. Oh, wonderful. So many ways I could interject and make connections. But one of the things I just wanted to bring up before we go to Dionne is, you talked about the Boondocks, and what is that artist's name who drew that?
Is it Aaron Magruder?
Yes, Aaron Magruder.
Yes.
So cute. But, of course, he was influenced by manga and by the Japanese style. So it's interesting how, communities of color and ancientness just keeps on spiraling upward. And next thing you know, it was in this little middle school girl's hand in St. Louis, right? You're from St. Louis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fantastic. Wow. Okay. So, Dionne, when did you first know you were a maker, a creative?
I was about 10 years old, and we had this class where we were reading like Greek mythology, I believe it was. And I really, really dug the stories and the characters, and it was just so interesting to me. we had an assignment where we had to write our own story. And I was 10, so my main characters were ketchup and mustard.
Okay, folktale.
Exactly. So that was probably the first time I remember about writing. Drawing, I think I was younger, maybe 3rd grade, and I'm a Cancer. And I don't know where I saw this crab, but we were in class and we had free time, and I drew this crab and it looked like a crab. And I like amazed myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was really the first time. And you talked about art as professional. That was never really pushed for me. I never really thought of that, except for the exposure that I had in growing up in Laclede town, where there were professional artists all around.
Oh, wow, really?
So I saw them. Yeah, so I saw
So
them.
studio practice type artists, or do you mean corporate, like in the design world, or?
No, like studio, musicians, dancers, there's all kinds of folks in Laclede town. Art and sports, that was the big thing in Laclede town.
Beautiful.
So I saw it all around, but it just didn't click for me at that time. But I will say that my mother encouraged art more so as sort of a self-healing and way to kind of take a break. My freshman year in high school, all of the students were told we had to take this class, this class, this class. You had to take a science class. And my mother was like, no, you're not taking science, you're taking art. Yeah. So that was really revolutionary.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And this whole how important it is for the people in your home to kind of support it, at least not get in the way of it.
Right.
I'm convicted because I am a creative, but I'm telling you, my daughter is very crafty. She made me a ring the other day. She's got canvases piled up. She's it's just always something. She's putting clay in the oven, and her room it takes me over the top a little bit. So I'm gonna have to start thinking about how to move my conversation in such a way that it is supportive of her work and not so critical. Dampen down the criticism and lift up the support. But that was revolutionary. The telling you to take art instead of science. Dail just texted me, you're gonna have to let me see her room, girl. It's a little different. So now when you were awarded your residency at Fannie Lou Hamer House, you were working on a novel though. And not to give away all of your ideas, but it's an intergenerational, it's like a saga type of situation. So that also lets me know how much your neighborhood and your community have informed your creative self.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about my family and the power and strength and support of Black women in particular. And that is definitely something that is just part of my being and my living and growing.
Excellent. Okay, moving over to Dail Chambers. I'm really interested because I feel like I kind of know the answer, but I know she's gonna bring in something different. So Dail, when did you first know you were an artiste, a creative, a maker?
I grew up from the moment, my very first memory of being a child is being underneath my kitchen table while Mary who was a great auntie of mine, was cooking dinner on Rex Avenue, and I was drawing with crayons. So that's my earliest memory. In preschool, my preschool teacher was shocked. Like, I have a similar story to both Stajah and Dionne. My preschool teacher was like, "Oh my God, she should do something with this." And my mother's side of the family was not equipped to do something with this. However, my father's side of the family was like, "Yeah, we already know that's what we do." Because all of them are practicing artists. Literally, my uncle's an oil painter, my father's an oil painter, and many of us are into art, fashion, craft, and the likes. So it was kind of like I was an alien that still had contact with my home planet in a way. I could just beam into my namesake side of my family and be inspired in a world where maybe everyone didn't see so much opportunity in the arts field. I was expected to be an attorney. That's what my family wanted me to do. I think that if that was my conviction, I would have been successful at it. However, that was not my conviction. In middle school, I moved to Hawaii, where I spent middle school and high school. I don't know who is going to hear this outside of Zoom, but I have two very good friends. One was a high school sweetheart, and one person's father was a Black Panther who left the Black Panthers and had a biracial, multiracial blended family. And his son was my friend. And we had a strong relationship. To meet someone who was the son of a Black Panther living in Hawaii in a house full of books was very inspiring to me. It really fed my creative spirit. And then the other person is the cousin of Aaron McGruger. And so
what? Full circle.
Full circle. And so we spent a lot of my high school time going to raves, going to bookstores, going to poetry readings, which is really alternative in Hawaii because Hawaii has a tourist economy and culture. So for us to find the culture at such a young age was a real feat. I don't know how it is now for folks who are Black living on the island of Oahu, but in the 90s, we did not have BET. Of course, many of us know in the 90s there was not Cartoon Network. So we created what we wanted with limited cultural access. I want to go back to the writing part because I feel like the writing is just as important as the painting. And in my academic career, I was kind of shifted to choose. I was a little child. When I was in third grade, I read 400 books. And when I was in fourth grade, I read 300 books.
Wow.
And so I really, literally, I was always prepared with my Easter Sunday poem every year, by heart. And so I thought I was going to be a famous writer like Phyllis Wheatley or Frederick Douglass. And I was reading like Ain't I a Woman and Sojourner Truth and all these things and writing poems that reflected a struggle that had nothing to do with my second and third grade self. So, I just love expression. I think there's an extra intelligence with those of us who are not in fear of expressing ourselves. And it's beautiful to see it in little children. And I didn't know it was I didn't know it was abnormal for it to be a part of me. I thought it was the norm. I thought every person in their own little sector when they got home made art. I thought moms and dads made art. I thought everybody, because even the family that wasn't supportive of it being my career made art. They were crochet artists, macrame artists, quilters, sewers, but seeing that as a career was not a choice that they were able to benefit off of because of their generation. So I just really thought I thought that I was doing what everybody else did. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. And because I know Dail, I've seen this incredible father side of the family where everybody, kind of paints and moves creatively. And, it's so interesting because that side of the family to me feels male, just feels like a male part of the family. And let me tell you, I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but the Black men on Dail's side of the family have a lot of cool pose, like a lot of street. So just imagine, it's not a Jean-Michel Basquiat type vibe. It's not, abstract. We're not in the world. They could go, buy a Swisher, drink a beer, and then paint you down. It's a beautiful thing to see. So I think one of the, things that we kind of battle as Black artists is, in a white dominated society, there's an idea of what an artist acts like and looks like and talks like. And so many of us come from multi-class families. We have to work. Stajah has been, teaching all day. I'm sure Dionne has been leading her organization. Dail, when we came on, she was working on a commission piece for a play. I have been, doing things for my business where I help people find money for college and submitting a poem for a program in Philadelphia where school-age children can call and hear a poem read on the phone. Their poet laureate of the city, her name is Trapita, and she came up with this idea that poets would record themselves and then kids could call a phone number and listen to the poems. It's the most adorable thing. So, so I put together a little poem and sent off my audio today, in the midst of working. So that's the next thing I want to talk about with you all. How do you balance the things that earn money and your personal creative practice? And anybody can, I'm not going to call on people now. Anybody can, just jump in and add.
Well, I would love to start this one off, especially since I've had relationship with all of the other collaborators.
Okay.
I think that regardless, by tooth or nail, which is neither for me because I don't put teeth in my art, maybe nails, I don't believe that that's opposite. I think that as long as we operate in that dichotomy of either or, that it affects our mental health, our financial wealth, and it affects the aesthetic of the art. No one wants to make art for food, okay?
Right.
Let's be real. We want to make art because it's flowing through us, and the food should be there. Why? Because the food and money is well deserved to us. Not that we have to go and chase it, not that we have to stress ourselves out about it, but be aware, open, and follow the processes for the money. To be honest, in my career, I got degrees. Treasure knows this. But that doesn't make a difference in the art world in the same way as it might in other business sectors. And so that was a misnomer that I had to get rid of. Like, no, I don't have to go to grad school. No, I don't have to change majors. No, I just have to be dedicated and committed to my practice. Did that make me financially sound straight out of college? No. Did that make me financially sound 5 years after college? No. Did that gradually give me the resources and opportunities at my awareness and at my capacity level to make that thing work for me and my family? Yes. Has it been easy? No, but that's a societal systemic issue. However, once I stopped disconnecting my financial health and my creative importance, then I have found that the money, the opportunity and the resources come easier. So that's for me. And I've been an administrator of a nonprofit with a very low budget for 11 years, but I'm not going to operate out of my capacity. Why? Because we have to think of resources out of just simply green dollar bills. Okay. My mental health is my biggest resource. And that's how I'm able to navigate the rest of the world. Do my work have a currency of its own? Yes, all energy has a currency of its own. But what does that mean? That means just like the Dail market and the stocks and trade, I can't always control that flow. I can learn that flow. I can be a master of that flow, but that flow I'm a part of, and also I create, and also I have no control. So finding the balance within myself to stay focused and on a plan to make money through my creative works, and I'll say creative geniuses, is something that only happens when I'm in a state of awareness that's sound and not focused on the dollar.
Okay, some powerful connections there. I mean, what you said makes total sense, but you really have to be in practice to kind of stay there, because outside influences, feelings of competition, feelings of scarcity, because, you know, we're always hearing about the latest tragedy and the latest stock market fall and the latest price rising of essentials. And you can start to get anxious and start to put pressure on your creative work to solve that anxiety. But I'll throw it out to Dionne and Stajah.
Yeah, I agree with Dail about the piece about it's not about making money, though everybody needs to eat, though. But for me, coming at this just from a different place, really it was the residency that, and I told you all this, that really sparked that flame again in me to create art. This novel has been in me for a while, but I haven't moved on it. And it was truly you all, you know, coming up with this residency that really kind of motivated me, pushed me to move on what's inside of me. And so this creation of this novel is about love, and it's about hope, and it's about the change that I think it will bring. And just in conversations about the novel already, I wrote, if this never goes any further, it's already helped somebody I love, just in a conversation with someone. And so it's just not about money. But I also have the, I guess, privilege, so to speak, is that I have other income generating methods, right? I got other businesses, I got a nonprofit. So the challenge for me, though, is taking time for my art and making art my focus, and not being so distracted by these other things that I have to do, right? And not that I have to do them because of money, I have to do them because that's my job. And that's also my creation. It's just a different type of creation, but I created it, so I got to keep it going. And so for me, it is about the balance that you talked about, but it's a balance of my greatest resource, which is my time.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, gifts that we gave you when you became a resident was Stephen King's On Writing book. And the reason I gave you that book is because it challenged me, because he starts the thing by saying, if you're a writer, you write, you get up and write. You're not sitting,
Right.
you're not reclining on a chaise lounge, waiting on muses
Right.
to bless you and hit you with lightning.
That's
You
right.
write something.
Mhm.
And that is a challenge to me always, to take my writing as seriously as I
Mhm.
take other things, you
Right.
know?
Mhm.
So yeah. What about you, Stajah?
I am listening to learn because that is a good question. If I had mastered those two things, I swear. So I'm just taking tidbits of what everybody is saying. But to piggyback off of different things that have been said. One, I had to realize, because I agree with Dail, I had to realize that scarcity is an illusion. This world has too much. It's got too much. And if you let anybody get you thinking that there's not enough for you, that's just a form of control. Let that go first and foremost. Because there is enough for you. The only thing that's scarce is people's willingness to share. And you can't even get mad at them. You can't, because it's a lot, trying to divvy out resources. It's a lot. But yeah, it took a long time for me to realize that. And I had been living in scarcity and not having enough as a single parent for a long time. And it took a long time for me to learn how to get to the resources. And I'm still trying right now to figure out how to transition into art being what I wake up and do instead of teaching. So I've been teaching art. I've been teaching art for 10 years. And teaching was the thing that my family was like, I think they expected accounting or lawyer out of some other people and this and that. Your family expects these things of you. And I have a series of teachers in my family. And so going that route was all the support. Nobody offered to pay for art school. And I had 3 people offer to pay for me to go and get my master's in education. You know how much a master's costs? I just wanted a bachelor's over here. But you see what I'm saying? So that's where the support was. And so now that I'm ready to make that beeline straight out of education, there's going to be some pushback. I am already emotionally prepared for it. I don't care, because my mental health is more important than anything else. I had to learn that my time is my most valuable resource, and how to divvy it up and how much it was worth. It took a long time for me to figure out how much my time is actually worth, and how to set that number for myself. And it really just comes down to, because at first I said it as like, how much does it take to get me up in the morning? Like if I have to get up, put on clothes and go do a thing, how much am I going to charge the people to do the thing? That's how I divvied it up. And that sounds good and well. And then you put it into practice. And I learned that it's not just to get up and go do the thing. How much do I need to be secure, to not have to worry about money, to have a savings account? It's more than just that. And putting all that together was hard. And then I thought, oh, now I'm asking for too much. Nope, just asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I mean, that whole knowing your worth piece is so important. And women say all the time that men don't struggle with that. Apparently the studies show that men overestimate their gift and women underestimate it.
Yes, exactly that. And I had to start thinking like a man when it came to finances. Really put that price tag up there.
Well, I was telling Dail that, I finally settled on how much I would charge, because I decided, well, I want to make 6 figures. I want to make at least 100K. But how many days of the year do I want to work? And how much would I have to make each of those days for it to add up to 100K? So that means when somebody asks me to go somewhere, I'm devoting my day to that. I need to make that. And it was reproven to me again. I'm not going to say the institution that came to me, but they came to me to do some Black history stuff. I don't know if you guys have started getting your Black History Month together. Black History Month is Black folks We try to get the whole year, the Black History Month. But this institution came to me, and when I told them my rate, they said, "Oh, we're going to have to talk to someone. We're going to have to get another form signed and go up the chain of command." And they came back in less than 24 hours, and they were like, "Okay, that'll work." So, it just keeps getting proven to me to just, you don't have the money now, so don't be afraid to ask for it, because nothing's going to change if they say no. You'll be in the same place you were. So you might as well ask for your worth. Mhm. Wow. Okay, so our last thing that I would like for us to do is to talk about current and future work. What we're working on, if you have something you want to show or you want to read, and kind of put your vision out there for projects that you are finishing, or recent work, or that you would like to finish. And I will start. So right now I have been in a season of gathering resources and putting things together. And I've been collaborating with Dail on some ideas about ways to make Fannie Lou Hamer House move more into the sustainable food space, into the farming space, and to address, health inequities through healthy food, small gardening. And I'm really thinking that the food preservation piece, because we don't have a whole lot of green space. Well, we're going to be able to do some farming there, definitely. But I definitely want to do a little something with small organic farming and some canning, dehydrating type of situation going on. That's the vision I want to put forward and for us to work on, because I think that if we put our heads together, we'll really have some fun doing that too. I want to have fun. I want to be making some tinctures, getting my witchy witch on, making some spells over there. So that's the vision that I'm gonna
Start your
put
basil
forward.
in the house. Start
What
your
you say?
basil. Start your basil for that prosperity now.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's what I'm gonna put forward. So I'm gonna go to whoever would like to show work or talk about work next, and then we'll open it up for Q&A.
While the other participants be quiet, I will say it's been a pleasure to garden with each of you. And that it's wonderful how a part of the creative process will always bring us back to what's natural. Whether it be gardening or just having the plant in the studio. I find most artists have a good, strong, healthy relationship to nature. And it oftentimes shows up in our art, even outside of what our local art community looks like. And I think because we're publicly engaged, there's no way of getting around it. So I'm so happy to hear when it's a part of everyone's long-term plans.
Thank you. Dail, can we see the piece you're working on for the play? And can you tell us just a bit about how you came into contact with the playwrights and things?
I met Lydia Nichols maybe in 2014 or 15. At the time, she was doing a similar sister project to New Mobile Healing. I'm calling it a sister project, but we didn't know each other until we found each other's projects. She was visiting around different places in New Orleans with a pop-up gallery as a young curator. She had some great artists that were on exhibition, like Soraya from Wild Seeds. I love shouting out other artists. So just to give context, because we're never alone, even if we make art alone as a single parent. Most of my time in my studio is alone, but not all of my time. and the world is our studio. Those connectors are so important. So Lydia, I met when she was doing mobile galleries out of a U-Haul truck. And lo and behold, I found out she was a curator, a writer, and much more, and eventually a mother too. And we've stayed in contact over the years. Her play is an abstract play. I want to say it's a surreal play. It's very about the times of now. The setting is in the future. I'm not sure if she's calling it Afrofuturist or not, but I was inspired by the play's relationship to land and listening to the different personalities having to address land issues. And that's the part that really rang out to me. So I use natural material, I use collage, the piece is mixed media, and it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable to do.
Is it on fabric?
It is on a plethora of things.
Okay. Some
fabric, some canvas, feathers, cardboard, more fabric, papyrus, photographs, beads, sequins, globs of paint. So it's texturous.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's see it one more time.
It's about 3 foot,
gorgeous.
About 2.5 by 3. And they'll be able to do what they want with it. They'll be showing the piece in its completed state, going in and out of the work as they're reading the play. And the artist's name, the playwright, is Stajah Curry. No. It's Lydia Nichols.
I was like, what?
Obviously the next person going.
Okay. Reveal.
It was a surprise for me too. I had no idea I was involved.
Exactly.
Staja's got it going on.
Yeah. Her ESP is on.
That's what it is. She's sending messages. But all right. So since you called out Stajah, thank you for sharing that work. It's gorgeous. Stajah, new work, future vision, anything you can share.
Okay. I'll start with my newest work, and I should tell myself I haven't touched this painting in a couple months now. You guys know how it is. But I'm working on a portrait. This is a commission that I'm doing for a family, a friend. So it's her daughter and her husband. Nice little family portrait.
Gorgeous.
It's almost ready. It's almost ready. It's done in oil on canvas. It's a pretty big piece. Like if I stand up a little close to it, you can see it's huge. Their heads are huge. Future projects as far as art goes, I have a stack of canvases back here that are just calling me names and making me feel bad about myself. So eventually I'll get to them one at a time. And then long-term goal is setting up myself for nonprofit as well. Or maybe partnering with some of the amazing nonprofit people that I know to get some programs going.
Yes.
I want to open a community center and school. And I want it to be both. And it's so important that it's both. The school is supposed to be a community center. And so that's a project that I've been looking into. I finally got a figure for how much it would cost to build this thing the way that I see it. But one of the most important things is for it to be self-sustaining and so able to feed the community. So you're looking at the biggest community garden you can possibly imagine. So we're all on the same boat.
That sounds amazing.
Before we jump into Dionne, I do want to say one visual thing. Stajah, I enjoy your use of color and how you combine color to represent pigmentation and melanin. Thank you.
Yes, gorgeous. And I wanted to say, you know, the way you have the light shining down, the way you could see that their faces were lit it was so loving. I can tell you like your friend. But I want to say that St. Louis just got what, 500 million from the Rams? somehow they got mad because the Rams left and they had to pay them a bunch of millions of dollars or something like that. But anyway, they got a lot of money for something. They should give it to you for your for your center. All right, beautiful work. And now Dionne has figured out if she's going to read something or show us something. She's
As soon
pulling
as
it
I
up
can
now.
unmute. Okay, so I'm going to read something. Always was going to read something. The showing the piece that I have in my head and in my notebook has not come to fruition as yet, but did a lot of writing, so thank you. So I'll share the piece that I shared with you all initially and extend it a bit. Just an introduction. My book is again about an experience that I had as a child and the strength and love of my family, particularly the Black women in my family. But this is the opening of the book, and this chapter is called Pat. Pat, Patricia Merle McGee Garrett Jones. Names are important because they tell the story of your life. Well, some of it anyway. Patricia, the first grandbaby of Pearline Irma Jefferson Dean Gallagher. She held a special place in her grandmother's heart, and that feeling passed on to my mom's heart, for she was also her first niece and favorite. You can tell who are the favorites by the stories of their childhood shared long after they're gone. Like the time baby Pat stuck something into the socket and got a little shock. That story still lives with me to this day as my warning not to mess around with outlets. Or that time in the high heat of the summer when a little older Pat went in the freezer. And maybe you know what happens next. Pat and a select few granddaughters were blessed to have lived with our grandmother, Pearline, at 4612 Ashland, the home where she raised her two youngest daughters and married all three of her daughters right there in the living room with the plastic on the fine couch and chairs. Pearline was a penny pincher, which is why she had so many towards the end of her life on this here earth. She had a small refrigerator tucked in the corner pantry in the kitchen, close to the stove, where she would heat up that straightening comb, sit us on a tall stool, and straighten our hair for Easter or any special occasion. To us children, Pearline and her refrigerator, or icebox, as many of her time called it, seemed large. But as we got bigger, we saw that our grandmother and her icebox, though small, were both mighty. Pat learned that the hard way about the icebox. Always one for fun and adventure, she opened the small refrigerator with the even tinier freezer section up in the left corner that could fit maybe two small ice trays and one other food item. Hence the deep freezer sitting full of frozen foods on the enclosed back porch. Well, Pat opened the refrigerator and saw that small freezer section frozen over with that cold, snowy, good-looking ice. I should again add that it was the high heat of summer and hot in the house because grandmother didn't believe in wasting a whole lot of money on air conditioning or heat for that matter. The snowy ice was likely too much for a young Pat, just the right height to reach and lick to resist. Well, you know what happened. Yep, her tongue got stuck and she hollered the best she could for help. To this day, I don't know what they did to get her tongue unstuck from the freezer ice, because by the time we get to that part of the story, everybody's laughing too hard to hear the end. That's it.
That was fantastic. Oh man, that was just so wonderful. So calmly drawn, so beautiful. Very cinematic. Yes. Loved it. Loved it. All right. So now you're welcome. Now is the time for us to have Q&A. If anybody has a connection they want to share or has a question they want to ask, you can put it in the chat or you can unmute and just talk to us. And I want to welcome everyone too.
I have a question, Treasure. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mary. Hi, this is Mary. We both go to the St. Louis Ethical Society.
Thank you, everyone. I really enjoyed your talking. My question is, do you find that the St. Louis area is supportive of your art? And I work at a nonprofit art studio. And what do you think needs to happen in order to get it to the level that you think you deserve? Because I think you're right. You got to know your worth. You got to create your art and then get people to recognize it. So I'm just wondering what your suggestions are. Thank you.
I will jump in on that one. I feel like there's lots of opportunities for growth in the St. Louis arts community. If you want to see how folks will respond and learn a critique process in the St. Louis arts community, that this is a place to get that done. If you want to lean on the back of our wonderful ancestors who have been creative and let that space be open for us in this place, I think that this is a historically rich area for the arts. However, I do believe that we need to relook at how funding choices have been made over the past 20 years in St. Louis, because it's not authentic to the talent and passion of the everyday artist. It's focused on administrative work. It's focused on popularity clubs. It's focused on resume stripes, and not necessarily the process of art making and really focusing on the artist. There's been a few organizations in the past couple of years that attempted to focus on the artist more before the pandemic. And since the pandemic, we find that lots more people are interested in St. Louis than we think. There are people who love St. Louis outside of St. Louis, and that it would behoove us to really reach for the stars right now instead of expecting each of us to eat from the same pot all the time.
Well, I wanted to, kind of speak specifically to the writing communities as somebody who's a legacy writer. So my dad operated the Eugene B. Redmond Writers Club for 30 years in East St. Louis, Illinois, and they never took nonprofit status. They would just be meeting twice a month during the school year, making their poems, creating their traditional Kwanzaa program, their traditional Da Doom Dun, which was Henry Dumas, Catherine Dunham, and Miles Davis focus, and just kind of loving on the community and celebrating the elders there. They would be collaborating with the BAG artists, the Black Artist Group, the writers there, and not so much concerned with institutional giving and growing their program. So on one hand, it's positive in that they were really the standard bearer for what you think of as a grassroots organization. They were loving on the community, focused on the community, giving to the community. But then on the other hand, you have what I would characterize as kind of a stagnation, where the outreach didn't grow and the new ideas weren't receptive to a lot of new ideas. So to your question, Mary, what could creatives, what would happen to make things better? I think that the funding opportunities from places like the Regional Arts Commission, or even large, like sometimes Kresge comes through and throws money at creatives in St. Louis, could focus on grassroots organizations who don't always receive funding. Because what happens is the people who get good at getting the funding, they just get it over and over again to create the same things they create that hardly serve anyone. Whereas there are lots of kind of underground things that if they got some funds, they would be able to elevate. So I would definitely say if they opened up the process to people who didn't always show up to the grant, Zoom and the grant this and the grant that.
Yeah, I agree with Treasure, because I'm thinking about the nonprofit world right now, particularly as it relates to if you are serving Black people, particularly Black youth. Folks are throwing money at us right now, right? And particularly at the grassroots level. It's unfortunate that Black men and women had to be killed in order for us to become popular, or to be thought of as the ones to give the funding to at the grassroots level to serve our folks. And so I agree with what Treasure's saying. What I would like to see, though, that it be a sustaining thing, because the thing that I'm talking about now with the Black nonprofits and grassroots, it's not going to be sustaining, because we'll become unpopular or an afterthought. And so what Treasure is saying, I think, is very real, but it needs to be sustaining. It needs to be the new way that we do things.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely work to be done. And I like what you said about it being sustaining, because I am certain that we've been here before. That's one of the things that's a blessing of having elders in your life. My dad will be he just turned 84, December 1st. And I know that we've been here before. So he talks about after King was killed, and he talks about, after the Rodney King verdict, and he talks about after. So the art world, responds in similar ways. They kind of rush in. They want something that's going to look good on, pamphlets, that they can make a really good, cute, short video about. There's drone footage. It's coming over the arch into a poor neighborhood, and then it's silence again for another decade. So yeah, I like the idea of building in some sustainability for the funding.
I have a question.
Yes.
I want to know from the artist on this talk, what does their creative schedule look like as they maintain their regular life? What is your schedule? Are you timing yourself every day? Are you setting aside an hour? How is it that you've created the art as a ritual?
I'm still working on that, Dail. That is a very good question. Still working on it. And what I'm coming up with is, I had already decided that I was taking, I work Saturdays and Sundays often. So it's like, yeah. So there are no days off. And so I'd already decided I was taking half a day off on Friday. And I hang out with my aunt and my mom on Fridays, and they're on this call. Friday afternoons. But what I decided was, I'm going to take the whole day Friday. And so at least that first part of the day is when I'm going to write. So that is becoming my ritual.
I just wanted to say that I love you taking that Friday off and that Saturday and that Sunday too. That hurt my heart that you working that much. Look, I went to a 4-day work week not too long ago too. I also have my own business, and I decided that I can only work Monday through Thursdays for other people. And yeah, so definitely. As far as putting together when I work on my own projects, I feel like I kind of always am. But there is a novel that I too need to write that I claimed to myself that once I finished the dissertation, that I would then focus on my own writing in that way. And I need to, I do need to commit to that if it's ever really going to get done. So yeah, what I am finding, and I would ask if you all were too, and then we're gonna bring our meeting to a close in just a second. But what I am finding is sometimes I feel like I'm doing work for myself when it's not, when it is for other people. So for instance, I did the poem that's gonna be on the thing, but it wasn't new work, but it required me to fill out a W-9 and sign a contract and da da da. But it isn't adding to my corpus. It isn't adding to my body of work, but it's generating income, and it took up time. So if I look at what I've been doing, there's been a lot of that going on. Is it just me, y'all?
Same here.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I've been struggling with finding time to paint because I'm also in a situation where I work 6 days out the week. So I'm teaching second grade during your 5-day normal time. And then on Saturdays, I'm teaching teens. And so by the time Sunday gets here, I don't want to see a paintbrush or a child ever again in life. And so trying to find creative time, it's not working for me right now. Being able to work around like the school schedule. So here we are coming up on winter break. I'll have time to paint at least one of those days. But like most of my off time is rest time. It's time to recuperate, to regenerate, to rebirth myself almost sometimes. And I realize anytime I'm in a position where I don't have the energy to create, I'm doing too much. I got to pull back from over here and over here and over there because that's what I came here to do, is create. And so I got to reprioritize. So I'm working out my ritual, but the goal is to maintain that break. I want to be able to work my behind off for 2 months straight, where I probably don't have an art day, because that's just how, if you ever get into the creative zone, you need that kind of time, right? If I had a solid month where I'm just painting, I get up and I paint, I might eat that day. And I do that for a month. And then for the following month, I want to go sit down, go see my family, sleep in till noon for a month. That's my ideal ritual for myself, if you can imagine.
I just want to add in that I was reading an article earlier this morning about Bjork's creative process when she was dating her second child's father, and how they both were artists, and how it was important for her for the first part of that relationship to continue her independent practice, which might be following a creek for sound. You understand? Being with herself, and how a part of that was very good for them because him as a visual artist needed the same thing, but at different time. And so she created and made it a requirement for her to commune with herself as a part of her studio practice. And she makes world orchestra music. So that just shows that what you're aiming towards, Stajah, does have a deeper, your art's gonna grow, and your relationships are gonna grow.
I love the way Dail pulls us out of the capitalist matrix all the time, because I just be diving up in there. I love that. And really what you did, Dail, was bring us full circle back to Fannie Lou Hamer House and its mission to provide ease for Black women artists and a space for healthful retreat. And you just made me understand that I need to go away on a staycation, that I need to leave this 21-year-old and this 14-year-old here. And they'll be all right. And I need to get me just a little time. So on that note, fair artists, Stajah, Dionne, Dail, and I, we will bring this wonderful conversation to a close. I would like for you all to, in the chat, put your contact information, where you can be contacted for commissions, or your website link. I'm going to shout them out, and then we're going to close our conversation after I see where you want to direct people, because I know some people can't see their chats, so I'll say it to them. All right, Dail Chambers is at dailchambers.life, and on Instagram she's at Dail Chambers, and her name is spelled DAILCHAMBERS. So dailchambers.life. Beautiful. All right, Dionne is at, you can email her at dionneferguson@gmail.com. That's DIONNEY Ferguson, FERGUSON, Ferguson.com, DionneYFerguson.com. And she's on IG and Twitter at Journey Coach. Journey Coach. All right. And last but certainly not least, Stajah, how do we contact you? Stajah, you showed us that painting now. Now in your bio, you said she doesn't want to do commissions. Then she showed us that painting, and all I could think was, ooh, I want to commission her to do a painting.
I just realized I sent my contacts just to Dail.
No.
So, and no one else. So let me go ahead and.
You got to send it to everyone.
Yes, I see my mistake now. So let me go ahead and copy and paste. There we go.
All right. So Stajah is at mysticlegendsinc.com. MYSTICLEGENDSINK, mysticlegendsinc.com. You can email her at mysticlegendsinc@gmail.com, and you can find her on socials at mystic1800, or is that mystic 1800? I guess it depends.
Mystic 1800.
Mystic 1800. Thank you, Mystic 1800. Okay, so I thank you all for joining us, and especially Miss Winifred Devens, or is it Devens or Devens? Devens. Miss Winifred, I can't. Miss Devens, thank you so much for joining us. And all of you, thank you so much for joining us. Please continue to follow us and wish us well. We'll let you know other times to connect and collaborate. And I will see you good people next time. Bye.